I'm Dr. John Gartner.
And I'm Dr. Harry Segal.
And welcome to another preview of Shrinking Trump.
On this show, John and I, both clinical psychologists, take a look at two things. One, Trump's steady cognitive decline, the ways in which we saw slippage this week in his language, in the way he's organized in his thinking. But we also took a look at Pam Bondi, who is not suffering cognitive decline, who is very focused on dismantling democracy, including the amendments to the Constitution, in a very systematic way. So we really focused on both these things, Trump's decline and really Bondi's ascension. Right, John?
Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because Trump's dementia has kind of fallen off the radar to some extent because he hasn't been evidencing it in public, but it's starting to come out again. And it's important that we focus on that. As clinical psychologists, it's important that we bring that to people's attention. We also had a great interview with Dr. Vince Greenwood about the science behind the study of psychopathy and the dismal prognostications that come from that research concerning Trump's behavior. Do you know what is even more unbelievable is that this evil plot, this coup, is being directed by someone who, yes, we have been talking about it, has dementia.
Yeah.
I mean, the idea that one man could bring down the most powerful nation in the history of humankind is
in 90 days.
In 90 days is unbelievable. Okay. But that a guy with dementia could do it? I mean, my God. I mean, it's I'm sorry, it's too comedic. I mean, it seems like a caricature, a sitcom, an SNL skit. It's crazy. Now, people have been saying to us, hey, you talk so much about his dementia before the election. How come you don't talk about it now? And we said, we do talk about it when we see it, but his appearances are much more controlled. Well, this week, it came out again. And so let's look at some of those instances. So here he's being asked by a reporter if his attack on Harvard should be interpreted as an attack on academic freedom. And he gets confused about the word Harvard and the word Harlem.
Time. Mr. President, thank you for your time. It's interesting that you brought up Harvard, because when people think about Harvard, what they're basically talking about is they're asking, what do you say to those who view your actions as an attack on academic freedom rather than a defense of fairness? What do you say to that?
Well, I say this. We had riots in Harlem, in Harlem, and frankly, if you look at what's gone on, and people from Harlem went up and they protested, Stephen, and they protested very strongly against Harvard. They happened to be on my side. You know, I got a very high black vote. You know that. Very, very high black vote. It was a very great compliment to me. I did criminal justice reform. I did opportunity zones for one of the greatest economic deals ever for the black and Hispanic community. I got tremendous. They agree with what I'm doing with respect to Harvard. Harvard gets 4 or 5.
What the hell? Did you hear how he kept switching it back and forth?
Kept switching it back and forth. He's like, he's in some dream world where Harlem, which sounds like Harvard, they're kind of the same thing. But then he talking about the Harvard protests. He talks that there are protests in Harlem, but then the protests in Harlem were against Harlem.
There are riots in Harlem, and but then they're supporting what's going on at Harvard.
But anyway, he got so much of the black vote, you know, that he doesn't have to worry about the whole Harvard situation. I mean, it's a complete mishmash. It's a complete conflation, right, of Harlem and Harvard. It's like you just put them in a blender, right, and whip them up together. And this is how demented the thought process works. So a word reminds me of a word that sounds like that word, and then I get lost on the second word, and then I kind of come back to the first word a little bit, but then I sort of talk about the second and the first word as if they're kind of the same thing. This is not something someone does who doesn't have an organic brain problem.
Right. And listen, to be more technical, right? You have two sets of associations he's having in his head. He hears the question about Harvard, but it also sounds like Harlem. So he
Right.
goes on a track of associations about Harlem,
Right.
but he starts to go into it, but then the other track interferes. So he starts saying that the people in Harlem are supporting what he's doing at Harvard. So then he's trying to put them together because he's gotten lost and sort of realized it. And
Yeah.
anyone who has worked with patients who are suffering from early signs of dementia, you see this all the time. It's not
Right.
uncommon, but it is
Right.
so disturbing to hear it. And look at those, and that I forget the ESPN guy because he wants to run for president. He's a very powerful commentator. I'm sorry, I've forgotten his name, but no one seems to correct him.
Yeah, I know. This is this is the other thing that's so insane, right? It's so gaslighting of us. I mean, there's a team of, for those people who are just listening, there's like a team of reporters on the stage. There's an audience, and they're kind of looking flummoxed and like confused, but no one challenges him on it or makes, one of my supervisors used to say, if there's an elephant in the room, if after the first 5 minutes, if the patient hasn't mentioned it, you should mention it. and the elephant in the room is this guy's not making any sense. None of this makes sense. He's not even speaking English, But we're just going to keep on keeping on like we're doing improv. We'll just keep saying, yes, yeah, the riots in Harlem. Yeah, they hate what's happening in Harvard. Whole power to the people.
Oh, my God. Okay. Show us the next one, John.
Show us the next one. Well, remember, we talked about the fact that, Donald Trump falling asleep during his criminal trial is so statistically unusual that, lawyers and judges, it just never happens. It just never happens. I mean, it's not that older people, listen, I fall asleep sometimes in movies or even at my house when people are talking late at night. I mean, older people can fall asleep. I'm not the last one to throw stones at old people falling asleep. Okay. But, usually when you're in the dock, all dressed up and everyone's staring at you and your life is on the line, you don't tend to fall asleep because you're in a tense state. And it just happens very, very rarely. And he fell asleep most of the days, not like one little incident. And we kept saying, this is a real physiological sign of something. This relates because people with dementia often will fall asleep involuntarily at odd times. That's just part of the degeneration and the disorder. Well, let's see Donald Trump at the Pope's funeral. See Melania staring at him, wondering if she has to elbow him.
No, you see his eyes starting to close.
So that's just a small point. Anyone can fall asleep at a Pope's funeral. It happens all the time. But you Harry, brought another example of his really. Maybe you can set it up.
Well, a really smart friend of mine who's an attorney had noticed this and turned me onto it. And then I watched the interview with Terry Moran. And the interview begins with a tour of the Oval Office, and he's explaining to Terry Moran the people on the wall. And then he gets to describing the Declaration of Independence.
Of course, you have the Declaration of Independence.
What does it mean to you?
Well, it means exactly what it says. It's a declaration. It's a declaration of unity and love and respect, and it means a lot. And it's something very special to our country.
Do you see the look on his face? I'm sorry. For those of you who are just listening, the reporter who asked that question, I haven't seen a face like that since Deborah Burke's, hostage video face when he was telling people to inject bleach.
No, it's interesting because it may be a sign of cognitive slippage. I think it is. But it also reminds me of like that kid in school who hasn't done the homework. So it's like, Jimmy, what's the adventures of Huckleberry Finn? Can you summarize the book? Well, it's about adventures. And it's about the adventures of a guy named Huckleberry Finn. And it's very important to all of us. And, the
he has no idea. No idea.
There's no idea what it's about. And it may be that he can't remember. right? That he once knew. I mean, he did get educated.
He wants to do something. And the funny thing is,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Tom.
Well, so he just goes with these. Remember, we talked about generalities, that being one of the things, and I'm blocking on the word when people are using very emotive language, So he's saying, "Oh, it's about love, it's about unity, it's about goodness, it's about happiness." He was talking about that when people asked him about the battle of Gettysburg, and he said, "Well, in many ways, it was beautiful. It was." Like, what are you talking about? Like, he's just giving vague superlatives. Yeah. Thank you. He's just giving vague superlatives that don't. And as you pointed out, because we discussed this earlier, if the Declaration of Independence is about anything, it is not about love and unity. It is literally a declaration of war. It's saying to England, "Fuck you. We're breaking up with you. And if you want to come and stop us, we're going to fight a war with you." It's not about unity or love.
And John, it's against a tyrant king, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was it. And so here we have a document about the colonies declaring their independence, declaring their rights to self-determination. And here's a man who misses every opportunity to talk about love and unity. And the one time he talks about it, it's not relevant. But it's not.
Right. You could use words like love and unity in almost any context and get a pass, right? Like, well, at least he's talking about the right things. It's like a declaration of war is about love and unity. No, it's not. It's specifically not about that.
Yeah, and you're not supposed to put it on Signal. Anyway.
Right. So
what a clip. What a clip.
Yeah,
There's just nothing like it.
The dementia's real, folks. The dementia's real. I mean, let's stop pussyfooting around about this. It's just so there is no other explanation. There's no other explanation for this behavior, right? If there were an alternate explanation, then you could have an argument. But there isn't any other condition that produces this kind of cognitive decline.
So, if you liked what you saw, and I hope you did, please watch the entire episode. You can find us on the Really American Network. Our show is Shrinking Trump. It drops every Friday as a live stream at 3 p.m. Eastern on the Really American Network. Hope to see you there.
Hope to see you there. Bye-bye.